I'm on nobody's side. And that's because I stand with the truth, or at least I try to attempt to stand with the truth. But see, it is simply because I don't claim to have the truth, and that I don't claim to have the only or one solution. In fact, I said in my video talking about different psyops or people who are misinformed, say, about freedom and truth and the way forward, that it's really just the dogmaticism, the fanaticism that is really what I'm after, because that is what got us in this mess of slavery, and it's also what many people in the freedom movement have without knowing, because they attach to new worldviews, new ways of thinking. And so this puts me at odds with all diets, natural law, all ideologies, everything you can think of. It puts me at odds with, aside from, well, nature itself, which doesn't have an ideology or, say, a select diet. Though many people would want to impose that on nature and say, well, nature does have an ideology, it's called natural law, or it does have a diet because every animal has a specific diet and that's how they work. But there's all these nuances that once you start to challenge or actually question these worldviews, and you just gotta hit the right pressure point, you can find out their fallibility, the part where they break. And trust me, there's always a part where they break. Everybody is so confident in what they think they know, and then just with a little bit of investigation, doesn't take a lot sometimes, you can break it. Or you can at least challenge it and ask a bunch of questions that are really good questions. And so what I'm saying here is not a disbandment of, if that's a word, disbanding of my own worldviews that I've held on my channel for a long time, but I can look back and see my own dogmaticism, my own fanaticism, and I can become aware of that and grow to become a better person. Because we all have some sense of ego or identity or attachment within ourselves. The truth process is always evolving, and so if you've been watching my latest content, you'd understand this is the message I have. But it puts me at a very unique position, because I can look at the government, and I could look at, say, sovereign citizens and say they're both wrong. I can look at anarchists, and I could look at, well, the government, or right-wingers, or left-wingers, or libertarians, and say, well, they're both wrong. And it's not to be a contrarian, that is, to just disagree because you want to be special or because you claim to have some knowledge other people don't. It is simply because you're seeing that these are still latching onto illusions of reality. They're latching onto projections of reality. And this is why my work has gotten more spiritual, more psychological, not less. But even better than that, more into the lens of shadow work and self-inquiry and asking questions. And yes, I believe my own work is prone to many different faults and nuances. That doesn't make it something that, oh, I'm going to delete all my past videos. Because you can see a journey of progression, just as I have a rule in my own journal that I don't delete what I write. So I can look back on my journal and I can see the progression and the mindset and reflect. It's not that we should abandon our history of humanity, take down all the monuments and all the great structures and say these were built by slaves and these were built by some, racist or whatever, and say, well, these should, we should ignore that history and never study it again. It was brutal and bloody and, It's all so much there to absorb and just learn from, that if you are a philosopher observing upon reality, that's what you are to do, right? You're not to take a side and say, I am this or I am that. You're to be as an outsider and simply reflect and say, where is the truth among both? And where do they both also miss the point? So I'm making this video also because I'm working on a massive video and I don't know how long it's going to take, where I expose pretty much every single group and identity that our world has. And I mean every, or at least you're talking over 90%, I would say. And that includes the statisticians, the scientism people. That includes the religious, the atheists, even the psychologists, if you want to go down that route. I mean, there's a bunch of fringe groups. I'm going to be talking about groups that everybody prescribes to, including most people in the freedom movement. And even saying freedom movement, what does that mean? What have people done to that? See, while there are requirements to change this world, and while I do think it is important to organize and come together for change, we do develop a lot of coping mechanisms and easy way outs that limit or hinder our ability to critically think and find deeper truths, or more holistic truths, or truths that are all-encompassing. Meaning that they're actually less controversial because they're so universal and so evident that they're so controversial because we're so blind to it. And so the layers of opposites or shadows you must go through to come to this realization is what I've had to do time and time again, and what a lot of people do, by the way. I'll give you an example. Fearless Floyd is someone who I collaborated with, and he talks with people who have left assemblies and state national sovereigns, right? And I think, he's maybe still in some of those mindsets, but he sees the cult-like nature of it. And again, I'm not saying I'm prone away from those mindsets too. There's a deceptiveness in these mindsets, in these people, these preachers, whether it's Mark Pasio or Anna von Reitz or any of these people, that allures people. And especially if you're in a traumatic, dark stage and you are wanting money or you're wanting health or happiness, these things can give people a sense of purpose in a world where it seems like you don't have it, in a world where the school system is to basically deprogram you from nature, but program you into a matrix. And as long as you're in that matrix, you're going to look for other solutions once you realize it's a matrix. And those solutions could be anything that rises to the surface. It could be something famous that you see is constantly getting attacked. You can see other people joining it, and that's why you want to join it, because you still have those beliefs of you want to be a part of some group. You can look at some sort of symbol or some sort of meaning, and it brings you back to your childhood, and you say, that's what I want to follow. You can look at flat earth and say, well, that's really important because, it's like our reality, and I'm always hiking, I'm always walking, I'm always in nature, and, this is an important thing to look at. You can look at history, you can say this person was right or wrong, and Caesar or Hitler or any of these guys, and different aspects of the American Civil War, and you can create all sorts of narratives of how the world works. But still, if we bring ourselves back to nature and back to our honest self, we can ask ourselves, would we be having this conversation? What prompts us to talk about these things? If not for the system of oppression, if not for the system that you can say you're attacking. And therefore, because you are on this opposing force, you sometimes are calling upon a force to oppose you. You are playing a game that you think you're not playing. You are sometimes following people that you think you're not following. You are free, but you're not. And this is what makes it so dangerous. And this is what makes people in the matrix continue to stay in the matrix. So, and I say that because people are giving themselves more coping or justification loops to maintain what they currently believe. So if you are a conspiracy theorist, you use everything in the mainstream to justify your worldview. And if you're in the mainstream, you use everything in the conspiracy worldview to justify your worldview. Both these parties are stuck, and they cannot conceive of a worldview out of it. And as long as that paradigm exists, this fundamental belief system, fundamental ideology, which I see almost everywhere on the internet, you have to get off the internet pretty much, you're going to be one way or another mentally enslaved. You're going to be in some sort of fanatical worship or culture. And again, people are doing this because it actually helps them. It heals them. It gives them happiness. It gives them all this that maybe they didn't have in their previous, life, or maybe their childhood or whatever. There could be a bunch of reasons why. But it could also be because you can say somebody is a genuine truth seeker, right? Like I would say I'm a genuine truth seeker, but I don't necessarily know what happened in my past life or even childhood per se that would bring me to this path, right? And you'd have to sit down with like a hypnotist and psychotherapist and really try to delve deep into it, or you can do some self-reflection and try to find it. And I think the reason why I'm at odds with everybody is in their worldview, but yet can love and agree with everyone and have friends from pretty much every worldview, is because I see these nuances and I'm not getting trapped. And so it's not playing both sides, it's not trying to appease everybody as much as it is seeing that we need to bridge these gaps in order to actually change things. So, in other words, the person in the matrix needs to break the matrix, and the person outside the matrix needs to, well, get themselves out of the matrix that is outside the matrix. And then all that is to the effect of realizing my main message on my channel, nature is the answer, though you can argue even in that sense, some people can take it to a cult extreme and worship nature. And you can probably relate that to some sense of the religions, right? So there's an overlap among all these different belief systems that isn't necessarily seen. And there's a lot of conflict that people create around these belief systems. But the important thing to realize is that I'm going to be doing a video that really goes over all this, and really, you just got the message in a nutshell. But I didn't want to spoil it. I just wanted to put out this video because I think it's important that I share, like, hey, I don't know how long it's going to take me. There's a lot I want to put into this to really show it in action, and I think you're going to get tremendous benefit from it. Because everywhere I look, I see coping mechanisms. It's like, oh, I'm taking this drug. Oh, I'm going to take this natural medicine. I'll rely on the medicine. Oh, shrooms. I'll rely on the shrooms. Well, just vote a new law in office, a new person in office. And, oh, a new conspiracy to look into. Oh, a new content creator to look into. Oh, and you can say our whole life, into some sense, is a one big coping mechanism because we don't know why we're here. So how are we going to get by? You could say this is like a hedonistic point of view, but I'm saying to realize it, to become aware of it, not to embrace it. See, it's like once you see the truth, it doesn't mean you use the truth to manipulate others, nor does it mean that you claim you have the truth and you should, keep yourself away or claim to have some special right over other people. It's this, just because you have this, just because you have that I am making disclaimers. That is, I am revealing shadows that happen in the light of certain things that come to the surface. And I will constantly meet people on all sorts of different areas of life. And just because I listen and I'm open, I'm able to be with them, right? Doesn't mean I disagree with them. I mean, that I don't disagree with them or that I agree with them. I am simply there. And so I appreciate you if you are with me on my projects, on my channel, and you simply are witnessing and you're simply present. And for those of you who watch my videos, who maybe look at the first minute or judge certain little things, then I don't know how much my channel is for you, right? And I don't know how much you are a truth seeker, in the sense that you're always trying to better yourself or always trying to find the deeper ends to things. But it would go beyond me. Just as I said in my previous video talking about just walking up to strangers, walk up to wake up, it's so beautiful seeing uniqueness in other people and hearing their story and opening up to them, because it awakens them, their humanity, their natural born nature. When the police officer talks to the sovereign and says, well, you have to comply because of this, and the sovereign says, well, I don't have to comply because of this, they're both not talking to each other as humans. When the person at the natural law preacher talks to the Christian and says, well, natural law, objective morality says this, this, and that, and the preacher says, well, God and Jesus and the Bible says this, this, and that, they're not talking to each other as humans. These guys are both talking to each other as ideological fanatics. And that right there is the problem of our humanity. And if I may say, statism can consist of three main points: idolatry, fanaticism, and heteronomy. Idolatry, that is worshiping, putting an idol in man, saying to worship fellow man. And we do this for all sorts of different things in our life, not limited to just government, but again, statism being the encompassing belief system of government includes idolatry. Fanaticism, in the sense that there's this worship, religion built into the system of statism, where there's certain altars and certain rituals that people have to perform, voting and elections and wearing certain suits and ties and the big red carpet and the crown and the uniform and the fancy pieces of paper. And heteronomy, where you basically give away, externalize your power. You give away your conscience. You give away your own authority to someone else. So I would say that pretty much summarizes the nature of statism. But if you look at, let's say, the teachings of some people, they can still fit under those lenses. Mark Passio's natural law, and that's a fanatical worldview because I'm plugging into it. And it's heteronomy because I'm studying it. It's this external thing to me. But yet, we're studying something, natural law. It's supposed to be all around us. We shouldn't need these conceptions. And that's why, by the way, I'm not discrediting Mark. I love his work. He says, like, it's just so simple, I shouldn't have to be teaching it. So I don't think he wants to be worshipped. I don't think he wants to be a cult leader. He doesn't want people following and reusing the same words and the same material. But it's so easy for people to, because the ego and the identity is still within them. The dynamics of the cult are still at play. And the top cult leaders in the country cannot admit to it either. They can't see statism. So, I have to make a whole documentary focused on this, going over all the different layers. Corey, why don't you talk about money? Why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? It's like the cult of no ego, the ego of no ego. I mean, my gosh, can we live our lives? Can we be peaceful? Can we have fun? No. We have to play all these games in our own heads, and then we keep ourselves away from our hearts. And then, you gotta love each other and just not forget about the world and trust everything. And then we're not using our minds at all. It's like, we'll go from one goal, we'll go to another one. Okay, we're good now, right? Surely we got it all figured out. Surely, right? Just surely. Look at how confident people are when they speak about the truth, how confident they are when they speak about their reality. They don't have a stinking clue, but they claim that they are just asking questions. They're just trying to figure it out. But a lot of their followers do take it quite literally. So I'm not blaming the scholars, I'm not blaming the leaders, I'm blaming the followers, as I usually do. And I'm providing accountability, if anything, as to say, well, are we falling into this ideological worldview without realizing it? And if we can come to realize that, we'd be at crossroads with everything in our society, because we are just ourselves. And that puts us in a really unique position to then also connect with everyone. It's the paradox, right? You separate yourself from everyone, you find yourself, but now you can talk to everyone because you're not in a select group. So, can we do that? Can we do that? Is my challenge, my question to you. Right? So, this is not to, again, attack anybody. I'm not making this for any particular reason or a reaction. It's really just, if anything, a reaction to the content I have to produce. And let me tell you, by the way, when it comes to my work on slavery, which I don't want people to worship and say that is the truth either, because there's a lot of hidden history and stuff that just isn't in here. When I say Sumeria is the first government, I mean, that's just according to mainstream historians, but take it as you will. I'm just looking at one part in history, and there's many parts that are questionable. I teared a lot. I cried a lot making this book. The Taoism book, I felt more at peace than anything else, because, it's basically talking about these concepts. But that book was really deep, really intense for me. And doing this other work, sometimes the emotions, it's just powerful stuff, because you have to come back to yourself and say, oh my gosh, this is the internet, this is culture, and this is what it's doing to us, this is what it's done to me. And to have that self-realization is beautiful, but it's also like, whew, what are we doing here, right? So anyways, just figured to provide an update, and I'm glad that you guys are all doing good out there. There's a lot of stuff going on, but keep your head high. Do what you can in your own local environment. Open people's minds. Get people thinking. That's always what it's about. It's never to really push anything as the truth. It's just about asking questions and critically thinking. Okay, which means that it doesn't matter if you disagree with someone. The point is if they can entertain a thought to begin with. And you can get mad at them for not accepting or thinking for themselves, but that's also going to be a disservice not just to them, but to you. So there is a point of trust, but there is a point of question. And if you can do both, and you can navigate both of these nuances, that puts you in a very powerful position for someone else. So figured to end on that action note, and we're going to continue to make more progress with the different projects. Should probably focus a lot more energy on those in this bigger video project, even though it may not get a whole lot of traction. I'm going to do it anyways. So thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Andrelot. Nature is the answer.